Hello everybody, welcome back. So today I am going to show you how cutscenes kind of work in video games. So when you're shooting around or when you're just playing around and you get to a certain part in the game and a cutscene all of a sudden appears, I'm going to show you how to do that. A viewer did request it, so that's why I'm going to do it real quick. So the way we could do that is all we would have to do is make a trigger. So by making a trigger, I mean a collider. So we could add either a 3D object, which would probably be easier to see. So this is what a lot of people do, is they'll add, let's say, a cube, and then they'll kind of position the cube where they would like. And this would be the actual trigger. So this will be what would cause the cutscene. So if the player crosses this box, which is going to be invisible because we will just remove this, or we could just remove these components because they are not necessary. That was just for like a visual effect or a visual, so we could really see where it was going to be placed, but it is not necessary. All you need is this box collider, and to click is trigger to be true. Now we will just rename this to cutscene trigger, and then we will add a script. This script will be called, well, I'm gonna name this script trigger cutscene. Now I did create it already, but if we open it up, you can see it is empty because we're gonna do it from scratch. So if we go over here, all we have to do really is add a private void, and this is gonna be an on trigger enter. There's also 2D, but this is a 3D game, so on trigger enter. Now this pretty much works with the collider component. If you have a collider 2D on the objects, then use on trigger enter 2D. If it just has a regular 3D collider, then just use on trigger enter. Now all we're gonna do is put if other dot game object dot compare tag is equal to player. So this is pretty much checking if the other game object that collides with this actual object that the script is sitting on, if it has a tag called player. Now there's many ways to write this, but this is the way I do it. I don't really see any wrong way to do it, so I'm just gonna show you how to do it like this. And all we're gonna do is we will add up here a serialized field, and we'll add a game object. This will be our director game object, or we could even put timeline object. This will be the cutscene itself, so we could put timeline object or director object. So director object, and then we'll just set it to be active. So director object dot set active to true. So I've said it before, but if you only have one line of code after an if statement, you don't need to add the parentheses and add the line of code in between. You could just do it like this. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna add our director object that we don't have yet. So let's create that. We'll right click, we'll create an empty game object, and we'll put director object, then we'll add a playable director. Now we'll have to make a playable asset, so we'll right click in our project anywhere you want to keep this file located at, and we will go to find it, and we will actually go to window and go to sequencing timeline, open up the timeline, and just create a director component and a timeline asset. Now you could add this anywhere you want. I'm just going to save it in my assets folder, and it will create our playable for us. And if we go to our project, here's our playable. Now in the timeline, this will be our animation. So if, let's say, we had a bunch of people shooting or whatever, we wanted the cutscene to be a bunch of people shooting, or I don't know, running around in this environment, then that would be possible with the timeline. So now what we will do is we're actually going to add a camera to this timeline, and we will add the camera. We're going to add the camera right about here. So right where the doorway is at, like where the player will enter. So my plan is you pretty much start over here in the level. You're going to walk, do your thing, read around, shoot, whatever. Now this is an asset from the asset store, and as you can see, it is called the low poly shooter pack free sample. It is by Infima games, and there's some information about them. I'll leave a link down below on their asset. But if we walk through this collider or this trigger, I want the player to actually disappear. So I want to turn off the game object. There's many ways you could do this. You could have a script where you just enter the player's movement script and just turn off his speed, his walking and his running speed, or actually just just disable the whole movement script. That way, if you did have a cutscene where the camera would like turn around and look at the player, but the player would still be there and not just be disabled like we are doing right here. So, but just to keep it simple, I'm gonna disable it, and that'd be it. So keep the camera right there. We'll leave the director object right there. And then we'll, on our cutscene trigger, we'll just put the director object inside and we'll disable our director object. Now on the cutscene, all we have to do is really hit play and test this out. So as you can see, walking around. Now this first object right here is our player. So I could actually rename it real quick just so you guys could see it. It will revert back to the original name once I get out of play mode, but just so you guys could see. So this guy right here is our player and he is active, but if I start, the cursor actually locked on me. So let me rename this to player just so you guys could see who the player is. I'm gonna hit play and you guys should see that player game object is working. If I go through it, something went wrong. Well, actually, everything went right. I only had the director object set up. Okay, so we also have to have our player. And now since we're gonna have at least 2 line codes, we're gonna add our curly braces and we're just gonna add our player to be false and the player right here. And now we're just gonna drag our player, and actually, my bad, you don't even need to do this. All you guys gotta do is, so the player could be disabled, just put other dot game object dot set active. So it's going to get the other game object, which would be the player, and as soon as it walks through that trigger, it will turn it off. Now your player game object, make sure that the tag itself has player on the tag. If you don't have one, just add tag, hit the plus button and add your own tag. Now let's hit play and this should work. Our player should be disabled and our director object should be enabled. So let me just close all these so we can see our director object being enabled and player disabled. So as you can see, it was disabled and the director object is enabled. Now it does look different because they are using post-processing here. So all I would have to do is add like a volume right here, post-processing volume, or not a volume, sorry about that, a layer, and add their post-processing layer, which was weapon. So now if I turn this on and I go to the camera and I actually turn this guy off, as you can see, it worked. Now everything's working perfectly. Now all I'm gonna show you is, so as you can see that when we do enter that trigger, it does look pretty ugly. It just pretty much snaps into the other view. And it looks pretty ugly. So what typically games do is they'll add a screen or a black fade kind of thing, so it'll block your vision while all that is happening. So the way we could do that is with our timeline. We'll add an animation track, and it's asking for an animator. So the way we will do that is on our director object, we will create a canvas, a UI canvas, and this canvas, it wasn't actually a canvas, but we do need a canvas. We're gonna add a panel on that canvas. We're gonna turn it to just straight black, and we'll scale it up just a little bit to cover the edges real quick. And then we'll just add on our panel, we'll add an animator. So animator, and now on our director object, we'll drag in the panel into the animator slot. We'll hit record, and then we could go back to our panel, go to the color and adjust it. So I want it to start off black like that, so I could leave it like that, or I could actually, I'm not exactly sure, but what you could do is you'll just drag this to exactly where you'd like, go to the panel. I'm gonna do it within 2 seconds, and then I'll just drag this down. So if I go back over here, I'll drag this all the way up. Now let's say you do mess up or whatever happens, you could double click it and it will open the animation up. So if you do mess up, you could just change whatever you want right here, and then once you're done, stop recording here or down here as well. And as you can see, this is like that. Now right here we do have options on if you want to play on awake, update method, wrap mode, initial time, all that stuff. I do have a video I'll try to post a link either down below or pin it up above in this video so you guys could check it out. But all we got to do is walk through the door now, and it should just automatically play the animation. If I walk straight and I go through the door, see, it got dark and then it lighted up, and that's pretty much it. And like I said, you could always shorten this animation. So if I double click it, and I just drag it to, let's say just 30 seconds real quick, and then I hit play. So it's gonna be a real quick animation, and that's pretty much it. If you wanted to add more cars passing by, you just add any animation you would like. So as you can see, real quick. So that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys learned something from this video, I would appreciate it if you guys hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already, and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified. And once again, thank you guys.